Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alright, so welcome to my little workshop on how to actually create VMs, virtual machines on your local host, creating your own um, your little virtual management system. Um, we're gonna look at how we can actually build a database server and an app server using the power of Vagrant. So if I can pull in my browser. So to learn more about Vagrant, you just go to vagrantup.com. Yep. Everything about it is already there. There's going to be the easy way and the hard way. Let's start with the hard way first, so then you'll understand how Vagrant works. So it's very simple and very powerful, as it says here. Simple and powerful. Vagrant init HashiCorp Bionic 64. That's an example. HashiCorp is one thing, and Bionic 64 is another. Then Vagrant up, and then once it's all done and up, Vagrant SSH. Then you can just start using it. You don't even have to think about configuration whatsoever. It's already there. A box is already available for you to use, and it's all set up to your VirtualBox. Now, there's a lot of virtualization out there. VirtualBox is one of them. Okay, so I have VirtualBox installed. You can use whatever virtualization tool you have. VMware works too. QEMU also works too. They're all good. So Vagrant supports most of these virtualization tools, KVM especially, I think. So yeah, cross-platform works where you work. So let's say, for example, you're on your Windows machine, your friend is over at Mac. Uh, your friend at Mac wants to use the same virtual environment like you do, and instead of telling them, just set up this configuration, that configuration, set up RAM, set up this, set up that. No, you just give them a Vagrant file, and uh, they'll just copy the same configuration as you. So we'll cover that. That's probably the easy way. So right now I'll show you the hard way of how to set up your own Vagrant. So let's go. So just like any other technology out there, the first thing you want to do is take a look at the docs. Anything, whatever the new technology is, the first thing that anyone needs to do is to read through the docs. So here's the Vagrant documentation, and then in part of the installation, there's lots of ways to do your installations. Um, so there's Vagrant. You can do a gem install. You can do this one is part of Linux, whereas Windows you got to make sure that this one is enabled first before you do anything else. So right click on Windows button, select apps and features, turn Windows features on, and then disable Hyper-V. So just to show you, Windows features on and off, and then down to so I have mine selected. If you wish to use VirtualBox, you must ensure Hyper-V is not enabled in Windows. Actually, that's the funny thing. There's something. So I didn't actually read this part of the docs. I just started using Vagrant, and it just works for me out of the box. So I don't need to unselect Hyper-V, but it may differ, I guess. So once that's done, that's just for the setup. But to install Vagrant, you go to the Vagrant downloads page. So head over to the downloads page and then get the appropriate installer. So the installer is right there. Just pick which CPU architecture you're using, 32-bit, 64-bit. In my opinion, I prefer using Chocolati. So PowerShell. Oh wait, I need to run as administrator. So Windows PowerShell, run as administrator. Yep. So okay, so this is the Windows PowerShell, and I'm running as administrator. So if I do choco install Vagrant, it will then install Vagrant for me using Chocolati. So mine is already installed. I guess I could take a look at if there's a new version, Choco upgrade Vagrant. So then this way I don't have to go and click the download and then once it's finished downloading, then install. This one does it for me. That's what I like about Chocolatey. It's similar to how Linux installs things. You don't have to download the installer and then run the install. It just installs directly. So yeah, mine seems to be the latest 2.2.19 as at the time of this recording. Yours may Vagrant, Moore's may vary. Uh, so yeah, so that's and then to see if it's really installed, I could do Vagrant dash dash version. I have Vagrant 2.2.19. So let me just move into my projects directory, sides. Oh, cd side. I'll just make a new one. I think I should start putting everything inside this tutorial or workshop. I think better if I move it to. Let's just do a tutorial. Cd tutorial. Okay. So this is where I'm gonna do everything. So it's an empty folder. Or if you're the visual kind of type, you go to C drive, D drive, and wherever it is that you want to put your things at. Let me see, where did I put it? Tutorial. Yeah. No. D drive site app. Tutorial. Yep. So it's an empty folder. Okay. There's nothing in it. D drive site tutorial. That's where I'm putting all my files in. So when you download and install these VMs, it'll show up in here, okay? Especially the file in itself. So let's go back to the documentation. After you download and installed, you can then start moving into using the Vagrant. So Vagrant is only through CLI. There is no GUI. There is no GUI. There's nothing for you to click. There's no buttons. It's all via the CLI, the command line interface. So let's go through that a little bit. So almost all interaction with Vagrant is done through the command line interface. The interface is available through using the Vagrant command, and you have to use these subcommands like Vagrant up, Vagrant destroy, etc. If you need help, just use the -H flag, and then it'll give you everything you need. So if I go here, and since mine is already installed, I do Vagrant -H. Give it a minute. Yeah, there it is. So there's your help. Everything is here. Vagrant autocomplete, Vagrant box, Vagrant cloud, Vagrant destroy, etc., etc., etc. So all of this is here, and it'll tell you what you can do. So, for example, the best one that you'll look at is the Vagrant init, right here. Init initializes a new Vagrant environment by creating a Vagrant file. So everything is stored with Vagrant files. We'll cover that in a minute. So autocompletion Vagrant provides the ability to autocomplete commands. Currently, the Bash and Z shells are supported. These right. So it doesn't support PowerShell. It only supports Bash and ZSH, whatever you want to call it, Z shell. Fikri, how are you doing? Did you manage to install Vagrant?
Yep.
Okay. Alright, so let's start building the thing. So let's go straight into init. Okay. There's a bunch of other places that there's a bunch of other things here on the left for you to look at. But let's look at the Vagrant init stuff. So Vagrant init, then the name or the URL. This initializes the current directory to be a Vagrant environment by creating an initial Vagrant file if one does not already exist. If a first argument is given, it will pre-populate the config.vm box. If a second argument is given, it will pre-populate the VM box URL. So you can just do Vagrant init just by itself, or you can also supply these arguments. Let's just do Vagrant init so you can see what it looks like. Actually, we should do this inside VS Code, just so you can see how it works, how you can see everything is going on in between the two things. How I actually open up this VS Code is just type code dot, and then that will just pop up the VS Code if you're using VS Code. If you don't use VS Code, that's fine. You can just use anything else. It doesn't have to be VS Code. You can use Notepad, Notepad++, or whatever you like. Yeah, so it's just easier with this one because it's got everything. All right, so let's do that. Vagrant init. Okay, so as soon as you do Vagrant init and hit enter, it will start initializing that directory that you're in. In my case, it's D site tutorial. In this directory, I'm creating a Vagrant file, and it will just pop up here. There it is, Vagrant file. If I click on that, it will then give me this default. Okay, so inside this default Vagrant file that has basically nothing in it, all it has is a config.vm box and a bunch of comments. It's Yes, it's a lot to read, but it's not too big of a file. It's only up to line 69. Nice. So yeah, all this is just there. You don't have to do a lot of configuration. All you gotta do is just use it. So I'll give you a simple example. So this one has config VM box. Now over here, the comment in line 13 and 14. Actually, let me just zoom in a little bit for you. Yeah, that also does nice for my eyes. Every Vagrant development environment requires a box. You can search for boxes at vagrantcloud.com/search. So let's do that. So go to vagrantcloud.com/search. So over at Vagrant Cloud Search, you'll find a bunch of boxes, a bunch of things that you can actually just search up for, various boxes that other users created. You have your Ubuntu, you have Laravel, Homestead, Precise64, CentOS. So every single one of these are different VM boxes that you can use to build. I'll take a very simple example. Let's do a LAMP, LAMP, Linux, Apache, blah blah blah. So a very like this one, Scotchbox, just a dead simple local LAMP stack for developers that just works. Okay, so it's just a local Apache. I forgot what M is. P is PHP. So by putting all this together, you already have a LAMP or a LAMP VM box already available, and it's tagged with VirtualBox, so you know that it works on VirtualBox. Unless you find something that says VMware Desktop, then it will also work on VMware. So let's go to this one. Okay, if you take a look, if I once I click that, it will just tell me, oh, how to use this box. This is just a very simple documentation. Just change the config.vm.box equals scotch box. Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, you can just do this, Vagrant init scotch box. So if you remember, in Vagrant init, it has that name or the URL. Yeah, so this is that name. Okay, so you can do it this way, or you can do it this way, scotch/box. So if we go back to that document, right now it's got base, and that's the only thing that's got is just base. Let's just change this to that scotch box. Okay. Once you rename that name, the VM box name, save the file. Okay, and then just boot the VM up, and to do that, it's just vagrant up. Hit enter. Now this is the time where this is where it starts killing time for you. And as you can see, there's a new folder here that just pops up. It's stored inside the .vagrant folder, and it's got these machines, the RG loader, and whatever configuration that the box may have. It will be stored inside this .vagrant folder. If you delete this, that's fine. You can just do another vagrant up, and it will just reload. It'll just recreate the folder. So yeah, while you're working, you should keep this one available. If something's wrong with it and you want to refresh or something, you can either just delete this or just run vagrant destroy. So right now it's just gonna right now this is the part where it's gonna kill a lot of time. You just have to wait for it to finish downloading and configuring and setting up onto your VirtualBox. In fact, we can take a look at it. We can have the VirtualBox running up here. Just keep it there. So then once it's done finishing up downloading and installing, it'll show up in here. Right now I don't have any VM, as you can see. It's completely blank. There's no VirtualBox whatsoever. There's no virtual machines active right now, and it will just magically pop up. Okay, so I don't know if we're gonna sit here and wait for it. I'll tell you what. While it's doing this, I'll just move this to the side. Okay. Just so that we can continue going through everything else about VirtualBox, about Vagrant. And let me just push this more and put this one, yeah, that should be good enough. So if we can see that as we go through more of the documentation, we can see if it's progressing or not. So that's Vagrant init. Okay, so as I said, if you want to delete the file, if you want to delete that the whole Vagrant box, that you don't want to use Scotch box anymore, you want to use a completely different virtual section, um, you just go and destroy it. So Vagrant destroy, Vagrant destroy. So Vagrant destroy, and then let's say you have multiple of them. Let's say one database server and one application server. You can give it a specific name that you only want to delete the application but not the database. So Vagrant destroy application server, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, you can also do a graceful shutdown if you want it. So gracefully shut down, then delete, and then destroy it. So the command stops the running machine, is managing and destroys all resources that were created during the machine creation process. After running this command, your computer should be left at a clean state, as if you never created the guest machine in the first place. So that means that that machine is completely gone. Uh, one minute. All right. So sorry about that. Okay. So Vagrant destroy what? That thing is annoying. Okay. So Vagrant destroy. Actually, I should try. Can I change? Can I set it to? Yeah, there we go. Okay. Right. So Vagrant destroy. What else? There's Vagrant box. Right now, you can see it's 56% done progress. So it's going to take some time. This is where it's a lot of time killing. Once it's during the whole download and install, it'll just eat up most of your time. But once it's done, you don't have to worry about it because it's also stored in your cache. So if you need to re-download again, it'll just pull up from your cache. So we have Vagrant boxes. We have add, list, outdated, prune, remove. That's what I meant. So when you do Vagrant box, you'll find like a list of boxes that you can have in your machine. So Vagrant box. Oh wait, list. Vagrant box list. Yeah, so that's what I meant. Vagrant box list. I'm sure I've downloaded a couple of Vagrant boxes on this laptop. Yeah, I did. This one, Ubuntu desktop. I wanted a desktop machine, a desktop guest machine on my laptop. So yeah, it's there. So I don't have to re-download it again. Well, I still have to download anything of the new updates. It will show up in there, and then after that, it'll just download from the cache first, and then pull in updates when it detects it. Yeah, so that's Vagrant box. So if I want to add or remove or prune or repackage or update, that's what you can do with Vagrant box. Next, not sure, but it's PowerShell. Vagrant PowerShell. This will open a PowerShell prompt on the host into a running Vagrant guest machine. Right. So you can. This only works if the machine supports PowerShell. So if the VM that you're working with is a Windows server, then you can do this one, Vagrant PowerShell. It will connect to that VM machine and it will spawn PowerShell, shell. Yeah, and then up, suspend, upload, validate. So all of this is there. Okay, and then if you want to share, there's also here Vagrant share. You can have it share things, share over the network. For example, HTTP sharing. If you do Vagrant share, it will share this box over the network. it will create your whole ngrok.io. That it shouldn't be. Hopefully, that won't be a problem. I've never actually tried this one, Vagrant Share, because I never need to. Normally, when I want to share something of an application, I would just upload it to the VPS and let it be done with. Yeah, then you can do that HTTP, HTTPS. Vagrant Share just does the whole thing of sharing it over the network, and yeah, that's it. What else? There's also a different kind of sharing. There's the SSH sharing. So this is a Vagrant share, but you have to add a dash dash SSH to it. So this will make it trivially easy to allow remote SSH to your Vagrant environment. So you could have it running on your desktop computer, Vagrant share dash sh, leave that running on your desktop computer. Then on your laptop, you just SSH to that Vagrant running on that desktop. So that's one good usage. Um, there is another one. I'm looking for sync folders. Yeah, there it is. So overview. So sync folders enable Vagrant to sync a folder on the host machine to the guest machine. So you can imagine like in here in this tutorial folder, you could have your project files in here, whatever that is, your PHP project, your Python project, your whatever project folders you have in there. You can have it synced to the guest machine and then run your application there. Once that's done, then anything that you do, any changes you make on your local machine, it will automatically be synced to the guest machine. So how do you do that? Here's a basic usage. You just have to configure inside config.vm.synced folder of where that is. Okay, so if I go down a little bit, where is it? Where's the config.vm.sync folder there? Config.vm.sync folder. Okay, so if I try to pull this, yep. So the first argument is which folder it is on your root directory. From your root directory. So right now this one is saying backpack data. So go up one folder up and then grab the data folder, and then on the guest machine, on the guest VM, it's named as Vagrant data. We'll see this soon once this one is finished downloading and installing. So yeah, that's how you sync a folder. Okay, next we'll look at so this is a VirtualBox provider. If you're using Vagrant VirtualBox provider, then VirtualBox share folders are the default sync folder type. So you just use automount and all this stuff. There is a caveat. It says here there is a VirtualBox bug related to send file, which can result in corrupted or non-updating files. I'm sure this is something that you have to pay attention to. Just make sure that if you're using Nginx config, just deactivate the send file, and if you're using Apache, enable send file off. So that's all part of the config of either one of these services. Yeah, that's all they've found out so far. Right, and then okay, so that's how you sync. Now next, the last thing that we're going to cover it will be the multi-machine. This is especially particularly useful if you're once you define and control multiple guest machines, you'll be able to set up a cluster of virtual machines for you to actually work with, especially if you are doing complex system deployment. So multiple machines are defined within the same project Vagrant file using config.vm.define. So think of it like a while loop kind of thing. So config.vm.define web. So in terms of the web service, it will be use this VM box. Web.vm box will be using Apache. Whereas a database will be config.vm.define db do db.vm box. So the name is just the name web, but here in between the two pipe characters, that's your parameter. Whatever the parameter does, it has an object of VMs. So whatever you name here, like web, it will show up. Then you can use it here, web.vm.box. Typically, normally, you would have the vm.box to be identified here as a config. The config is taken from here, config. So unless you rename this config to something else, let's say, I don't know, usai, oh, usai, and then this one will be usai. So that name has to match. Okay, you can name whatever you want. If um, web 2 or web 3 or whatever you want to call it, just make sure it's the same as the parameter in between the pipe characters. Okay, so that's config the VM provision. Oh, that's a shell. We'll cover that soon. Define. So yeah, that's how you actually define multiple machines. One is a web Apache, and the other one is a database, MySQL. Maybe that's what M stands for. I forgot what LAMP is. Anyway, yeah. You could do the same thing with multiple more machines. So other than a web and a database machine, you could have another one for web test, and test database. You can name it however you like. Yeah. So that's how you configure it. Now to control them, it will be different because these have different uh, are different machines. You have to tell Vagrant that you want to connect to which machine. So if you want to do Vagrant SSH, you have to give it a name. So Vagrant SSH Web or Vagrant SSH Database. So we'll cover that soon. Okay, so it's already done, and the VirtualBox. Yep, there it is. See, it's running. Tutorial default gives us a UUID of the VM, and inside the preview it's running. Now, if I do Vagrant SSH, I should be inside the VM. Give it a minute. Yeah, yep, there it is. So Scratchbox Pro, I'm inside it. LS, there's a Go, there's a mail hog. So if I want to do some emails, it's already there. And this is everything inside the Linux machine. That's all. That's all there. That's all that is. Cat, etc. LSV release. You can see it's 16.04. It's a very old Ubuntu server, but it's good enough, I guess. You can feel free to actually make your own VirtualBox if you want. Just have to build it yourself. Yeah, then yeah, that's how you run Vagrant. So that's Vagrant SSH. Now if I exit, um, and if I do Vagrant destroy, if you take a look at this one, right now it's running. Give it a minute for it to be destroyed. Oh right, it's gonna ask me whether to destroy it or not. I'll say yes. Yeah, so it's now destroyed. Now if I want to bring it up again, Vagrant up. It doesn't have to do the whole download again. It will check the thing that's already downloaded on this machine, and it will just bring it back up. So importing basebox, Scotchbox. Yep, progressing. Well, it's not downloading. It's just progressing, trying to set it up. Of course, this also depends on how fast your computer is. Mine is a little bit old. I think about 6 years, maybe 5 years old laptop. Yep, and it's building. It's building. So it doesn't download anymore. It's just setting it up. So matching MAC address, making sure it's up to date, and then setting the name, and then try to build it. A little bit slow. Booting, starting, and it's there. So, yep, it's up. You can see it right there in the preview. I don't know if you can see it. It's really tiny. I don't know if I can try to resize it. No, can't. Yeah, so it'll be done in a minute or two. So waiting for the machine to boot. Blah blah blah. Still booting. I can see it inside the preview. Yeah, so that's how you boot up a. That's how easy it is just to set up a Linux machine. All you gotta do is just create this Vagrant file. So how are you doing, Fikri?
Then need to set up this Vagrant.
Huh? What was that?
Usually I have this install Linux server and just remote thing lah, using SSH. So I will try this Vagrant. Now currently aku installing ito lang, the Vagrant.
You haven't
Linux.
installed your Vagrant yet?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Then you just watch as I do things. So right here, right now, inside the VirtualBox, you can see that there's this a bunch of things that's already been set up for you. The video memory, 8 megabytes, it uses VBox VGA. Got IDE controllers using these audio, that network. USB is disabled. The share folders is only one thing. Is only one, and it's only this. It's only this basically this side tutorial folder.
Okay.
And then if you notice, there's this base memory of 1 gig. Let's say your server is it needs a lot. It needs more spec. It needs is not doing so well with 1 gig of memory. You want it to do more. You can do that by updating this Vagrant file. So right now, Scotchbox, it'll just use anything that's default. Anything you don't want, anything that you want to change, that you want to configure, you just have to configure in here. So let's go to the part where it's about yep, there's memory. So in here, okay. So config the VM provider. So everything here is already created for you. All you gotta do is just play around with it. Just uncomment or get rid of a few things and then just use them. So in here, config the VM provider VirtualBox do VB vb.gui true. This will actually pop up the GUI version of it. So show. So it's basically the same as showing the VirtualBox like that. Okay, so that's what vb.gui. So we don't need that. Okay, continue running background. Yep. Okay, so I'll just set this to false. Okay, then here vb.memory, instead of 1024, I'll just do, let's pump it up to 2048. Okay, I'll save that. But right now, once that's saved, it doesn't refresh the VM, the VM's configuration. Right now, it's still at 1 gig, so I have to destroy this VM and rebuild it. So do that again. Vagrant destroy. What happens if I do and? I've never done that, but let's try. Distorila. Well, if you really don't care about your VM, you can do destroy force. So just force. Yeah, don't ask for confirmation before destroying. Just destroy. So Vagrant destroy dash dash force or dash F. So dash F or dash dash force. There's also destroys multiple machines in parallel if the provider supports it. Please consult the provider documentation to see if this feature is supported. I'm sure there is. I just don't really normally use it. So the destroy command does not remove a bug that may have been installed on your computer during Vagrant up. Thus, even if you run Vagrant destroy, the box installed in the system will still be present on the hard drive. If you want to get rid of it completely, you have to use Vagrant box remove. So right now it's just progressing, setting it up, and by the time we finish setting up, you'll find that the RAM on the server VM would be, what did we set? 2048, I think.
2 gig.
Yeah, 2048. There it is. So base memory 2048. And yeah, and that's it. Uh, that's how you can customize the amount of memory. Now it doesn't have to be fixed only up to GUI and memory. There's more. Okay, there's a lot more. So let's and you can consult the documentation on how to do that. So Vagrant file, and you have all this. Okay, so vm.provider. Okay, vm.provider. You'll find that there it is, providers. So inside the providers, you have all this configuration. So under VirtualBox, you have all this configuration that you can do. So clicking on the configuration, you have config.vm provider VirtualBox. You have the GUI. I already mentioned that before. You have the virtual name. You can give it a name, v.name, blah blah blah. You can give it an NIC type. I don't know what that is, but I'll leave that alone. I don't know much about NIC types or the network interface card type. So again, I'll leave that alone. If you don't specify that, it will just use whatever default that the provider uses. And then there's a link clone. By default, new machines are created by importing the base box. For large boxes, this produces a large overhead in terms of time, the import operation, and space. The new machine contains a copy of the base box's image. Using link clones can drastically reduce this overhead. Link clones are based on the master VM, which is generated by importing the base box only once the first time it is required. For the link clones, only differencing disk images are created where the parent disk images belongs to the master VM. So this is the master VM, and you just have to specify that it's a link clone equals true. Then to have backward compatibility, this is a gem. Okay, so Vagrant file uses gems. It's a Ruby kind of thing. Don't ask me about Ruby stuff. I'm not that expert yet. But yeah, this is how if you want to have any backward compatibility on anything on any other link cloning. This may be a little bit complicated for link clones. If you want to try something more advanced, just to make sure that downloading and importing and setting up new VM machines uses the same operating system. For example, it's Debian or Red Hat or CentOS or whatever it is that uses the base image. You use link clones to help disperse that base image of, let's say, Debian servers to app servers to database server to backup server, test server, whatever. Okay. Um, but yeah, that's a little bit advanced. And then checking for guest additions. This is if you want to use those guest additions, the VirtualBox guest edition. I don't know if you know about that one. VBox managed customizations is also there, and yeah, memory CPUs, and you can also specify how many CPUs you want. So that's it. That's all you gotta do to play around with the with this configuration. Now let's try, where is that multi-machine? Yeah, let's try that multi-machine. Okay, so let's define two multi-machines. Instead of web and DB, um, Fikri, correct me if I'm wrong. LAMP is Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So that means this thing also has, if I go to Vagrant SSH, it should have a MySQL. I don't know if it's MySQL or Maria, but let's find out. If it does have a MySQL database, then it should be there. Taking a while just to SSH in. Did you manage to install your Vagrant?
Sorry?
Did you manage to install your Vagrant?
Yeah.
Okay. MySQL.
SQL.
Okay, so it won't allow Vagrant at localhost. Hmm. Where would the database be if it's not there? Maybe in mount? No. Which MySQL? Okay, MySQL.
Oh, I know. Alright.
Line numbers, port, compress, authority hash. Okay, it doesn't tell me. Looking for defaults. Oh, there it is. My.cnf. Okay. So ls etc. MySQL, and then here we have all the default configurations. MySQL.cnf. Then if I take a look at what's inside, we have this. Okay. Okay. What else? MySQL.conf. Oh, it's a directory, of course. ls. We have this mysqld.cnf. It has all of this. Sock, nice user. Can we switch user to MySQL? We'll find out. su MySQL. I don't know if there's a password. Nope. Let's try that again. MySQL. MySQL. I'm sure there's a default password for MySQL. Nope. Well, if there's a little extra time, I would be able to just less etc. password. And here we have every passwords available, including MySQL is right there. Wait a minute. There's also Postgres and MongoDB. There's so many things going on in here. It's too many things for an old server. Anyways, yeah. Okay, so let's assume it's there, and all you gotta do is just load the. Actually, I have a better idea. Instead of this lamp server, okay. Let's exit out of this one, and Vagrant destroy force, and instead of 2048, put it back to 1024, and instead of Scotch box, I want to use a different kind of box. A box that should be popular. Call it WordPress. So here we have it, a WordPress box, a WordPress box. Yeah, multi-CMS lamp stack. What? So you can see there's a bunch of boxes that are a little bit out of date. Even this one, Seravo WordPress stack for local environment. I don't know what that is. For details, see seravo.com docs. So these are, so that's a box that actually has proper documentation, probably. Let's take a look. Seravo, fast track, git clone, origin production, start developing, and git commit, git push. That's it. Okay, but bigger box. Develop locally with Vagrant. Okay. Okay, requirements to set up to. If you're, yeah, okay, but getting started is where? Okay, then installing Vagrant. Yeah, we've done this. Git clone. Okay, that's one way. You get the WordPress files in to you, and then you can just start developing it. Let's do that. Okay, so just follow the documentation guide. Okay, this is how I actually do them in real world. So as you notice, I'm actually doing this off script. I'm just doing this as how I would normally do things. Um, yep. So hide that. Okay. So they git clone https github.com Saravo WordPress. I don't know what he has, but I'm sure it's a safe file with all the WordPress usual stuff. I'm just blindly cloning his files from his GitHub into my computer. CD into WordPress dev. Oh, wait, okay. Um, WordPress dev. Oh, okay. Never mind that. Let's just do this. Let it just clone directly into my current directory, my current tutorial directory. So in here, I have the dot vagrant. I have this thing, which I don't really need. Actually, there's a lot of things here. That one's empty. That one has WordPress. Delete this. This one has odd stuff in it. Yeah, delete that. Okay. Oh, delete that too. Okay, so yep, so WordPress to WordPress. It's supposed to be like WordPress dev, but that's fine. Next, okay, so it says to install Vagrant, VirtualBox, and VirtualBox DKMS, which we already have that in terms of Windows, and then Vagrant up basically. So Vagrant. Oh, hold on. CD WordPress. So it's all in here. It's got the Vagrant file in there. So if I do code Vagrant file, that's the Vagrant file. So this is his version of a Vagrant file. Okay, it's got config file, the sample files, private IPs, configure, SSH forward agent, box version, VM box, host name, etc., etc., etc. So all this is already configured for you. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. And triggers and all that stuff. Cool. Then if I want to just do Vagrant up, I can do that. But that's not what I wanted actually. What I want to do was actually do the multi-machine stuff. Okay, so what is it that you want to do? Maybe we'll just work with your example. Fikri?
Sorry. What?
Do you have any idea what you want to do? About how you want to set up your multi-machine? Or what kind of database and app server do you want to set up? You don't know? Fikri, you there?
Yes.
Do you have any idea what you want to do? What kind of servers you want to set up?
Debian.
Huh? Hello?
Debian server.
Okay. Just one Debian server, or is there more?
That's all. yung Debian saja.
Okay, a simple Debian server. Okay, we can do that. So Debian. Okay, and we'll just limit this to virtual boxes, and let's say recently updated, so we can get the latest and greatest. So we have here, we got Debian 10, Debian testing, Debian 11. I'm sure there's lots more. Debian 12, Debian 12. Let's go with this one. Seems to be recently updated, although downloads is only about 1,000. If we sort by downloads, this would be the highest, but it's Debian 8 though. Debian 8 is a little bit old, 3 years ago too. So I guess what we could do, oh here, Debian 10. This is a lot more recent, 8 days ago. Let's do that. Let's do this one, generic Debian 10. Okay, so I'll do that. So let's do that multi-machine, but using Debian 10. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So vm.box. So we're not going to use this one. And well, you can delete all of this, is fine. I'll just do that. Delete, get rid of all this. Okay. And then config.vm.provision shell. This is just to give you a little example. Inline echo welcome to my multi-machine setup. Okay, let me do a word wrap. Yep, so that's easier to read. Don't have to scroll too much to the right. Undo and config.vm.define. Let's do the web. Okay, web.vm.box equals generic Debian 10. End. Okay, config.vm.define database. Do db.vm.box. I don't know if there's such a thing as generic something, generic MySQL or something. Generic MySQL. Nope. Okay, let's try that again. MySQL. Okay, so we have, this one has MySQL, MongoDB, and Redis. Easy, Apache, PHP, MySQL. This one also has MySQL, but it's 6 years ago though. Mind you, actually, I'll share my little opinion about Vagrant boxes later. Let's just set up this database server first. Recently updated, maybe that'll give us something better. Oh,
I think now the MSQL change. They update the MSQL to MariaDB, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, MySQL is still active.
Okay.
Yeah, last I checked, they were still active. I know MariaDB is the more latest, it's more modern than MySQL, but MySQL is still being maintained. So mysql.com, you can see, you should be able to see all these releases. 21 days ago, Laravel, nope. No. Okay, so a bunch of these boxes seems to be on its own. Okay, well, I guess this would be a perfect opportunity to show you how to set up your own database server, I guess. So MySQL, yeah. Where's the downloads? Maybe it'll show the latest. Where is it? Customer download. That's enterprise though. Anyway, let's see. Oracle. Of course, that's why people are running away from MySQL because Oracle. Anyway, yeah, so it's still up to date because Oracle is now maintaining it. Anyway, it's what database do you want to use? Maria, is it? Do you want to
It's
use MariaDB or MySQL?
MariaDB.
Okay, let's do MariaDB. Okay, so MariaDB, MariaDB.org. I'm sure there's okay. So what I want to do is actually go through the documentation of how do you install MariaDB. I'm sure it's very simple and very easy to do. Blah 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 blah. Don't need a video. I want the actual documentation. Okay, beginner, I guess. Basic article. Is it a primer? Okay, what? Install MariaDB on DPN, I guess. Yeah, DigitalOcean is a good site to actually look at. Never mind. Okay, so let's look at this one. Okay, so here it has all these step by step on how to install sudo app update, install blah blah blah. So we can do the same thing. So we'll just use the generic db and 10, and then we'll start doing the rest of it. So what I'm doing is, okay, if I go to multi-machine, actually not the multi-machine, sorry. If I go to documentation menu, there's this thing called provisioning, okay? For every VM, you can actually give it step by step on how you want to actually set up your databases. So in here, where I'm looking for shell. Yep, shell. So provision name shell, okay, and then in this shell we can actually give it things to do, things of what you want it to do, okay. So blah 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 blah. So this is one example. Here also inline. So by doing this shell, inside the shell, what it can do is I want to give it this command, echo welcome to my multi-machine setup, blah, blah, blah. So it will echo that. You can also do more things. If you can do an echo, you can do everything else. You can also do this one, putting it into a script, putting it into a variable like $ script, and then passing this script into the inline. That's one way to go about it. Another way, okay, not that one. There's another one. External script. So path script.sh. Script.sh will be whatever file that you put in. So that's what we're gonna do. db.vm.provision equals provision shell, and instead of inline, we're gonna change that to using path, and we're gonna call this db setup.sh. Okay, and so this db setup.sh, we're gonna have to create that new file. Okay, we're gonna get rid of this WordPress folder. Don't need that anymore. Okay, and then we're gonna create that file, db setup.sh. Then all you gotta do is as simple as copying and pasting all this stuff in. So sudo app update, sudo app install MariaDB server, sudo mysql secure installation. Although it's assumed that you're running as root, so you don't need to do sudo. Okay, then after that it will just install. It'll run the update. It will install the MariaDB server, and then we'll configure the MariaDB. Well, it's optional. We use the block remote. That is if you want to do that. This could potentially be a problem because it's going to ask you for a few things for you to do the setup. For example, setting up a root password and um, typing n and press enter, or whatever stuff in the. You can do this manually if you want, but let's just, you know what? Let's just do that just to be safe, so we don't waste too much time. Okay, so we have a Debian 10, and then we have a Debian 10 for the web, and then we have a Debian 10 for the database, and inside the shell we have db setup.sh to run the setup for the database. Um, this is optional, blah 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 blah. Then we have testing MariaDB database just to make sure it's running. Sudo MySQL admin version just to check the version of the MySQL admin. MySQL admin-u admin-p version. So yeah, that's how you set it up. Okay, don't need this Ravo anymore. All right, so that's how you set up the external script. Okay. And another way would be looking at external scripts over the web. So if it happened to be on someone's gist or something, and you have access to their shell script and you don't want to put it inside your folder, like you want to test it out, you can do this. You can just do a hyperlink, put in a URL. And of course, when it comes to Windows servers, use PowerShell script, PS1, script arguments. You can pass in the script arguments if you want, and some quoting. Yeah, that's it. Okay, now for your app server, Fikri, what do you use? PHP, Python?
Yeah, PHP.
PHP. So, yeah, you
PHP.
can. Yeah, then there will be another setup, just to set up, install PHP on Debian server, Debian 10. Then you just follow the same step. You know, just set up that blah blah blah. Let's just do this for now. Okay. So, yep, PHP common. Yep. Yeah, then that's how you have your PHP installed. But to have it, completely be configured for you, you have to set up the whole thing now. It's either you do this from scratch, or you just use any of those boxes that you find here at the vagrantup.com boxes. All right, so let's do this so you can see how it works. Actually, for the sake of it, and considering my laptop is very slow, let's just do this. Just do database for now. Save. Okay, don't need line 7 to line 1. Don't need those, do we? It's down below the 2 in Vagrant configure. Yeah, correct. I'll cut this out for now. Save. Run it. Vagrant. Up. Oh, wait. WordPress folder is gone. Okay, Vagrant. Up. And then it will start downloading and installing and a few other things to do. So bringing machine DB up with VirtualBox provider, and yep. So I couldn't find this Debian 10 inside my machine, inside my laptop. So I'll just start downloading it off from Vagrant Cloud. All right. Yeah. So while it's done, while it's downloading, do you have any questions?
Mm, no.
No. Okay. So are you gonna use Vagrant for your side projects?
Yeah, sure. Uh, yep.
Okay. Okay. So right. I guess while waiting, I could tell you my opinion about Vagrant. So well, actually anything with virtual machine boxes. So the virtual machines are great. You have an entire box, an entire server with everything inside it that's flexible for you to use. You can put in custom scripts. You can put in custom files. You can have cron jobs. Anything that's even outside of what it's supposed to do, like say it's a database server, it's supposed to store data. but you can have it do more stuff. You could put in an automated script to automatically back up inside the database, or do
Oh,
more than that. But all this
okay.
seems to be a little bit extra, because uh, if it's that flexible, it's also room for error. You can actually mess something up, and it becomes another dependency for you to maintain. So, um, operating systems, as things go, you have to update them. You got to make sure security patches are always updated. If there's a vulnerability, you got to patch that up. If you want someone to actually have access to this to this box, you have to give them access to it. That creates another file and creates another user, creates another uh, yeah. So I tend to step away from doing virtual machine boxes, and that's my opinion basically. I prefer working in something smaller like Docker containers. So you've heard of Docker, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so, uh, so even though this workshop is about Vagrant or about virtual machines, I tend to try to convince people to go into something smaller than virtual machines, because virtual machines, they take up like lots of gigabytes of your machine, and it eats up a lot more of your RAM. But with Docker, it actually
Uh,
doesn't eat up any of your resources. It basically just uses whatever is available, and if it doesn't want to use that resources, it's fine. Primary the primary host machine gets to just use all the resources available. So that's Docker container. But right now I'm trying to move forward into FAS, functions as a service. Functions as a service. Okay, that's IBM. I think better. Okay, Cloudflare is good. Cloudflare is one. Another one is Netlify functions. So I prefer these instead of doing virtual boxes or Docker containers. These are a lot more stable, I guess, in a way. So um, so Docker is where everyone is familiar with, because it's you're still familiar with the whole concept of servers running applications. Um, but in the Docker container kind of style, you don't have to worry about servers, because it's just running the application directly. Okay. Whereas these things like Netlify functions or Cloudflare functions, or Cloudflare workers, um, this is a good example. So you think about your monolithic application, and then you convert that into microservice. Each of them is a microservice, and in each microservice, there's a bunch of functions. So you think of one microservice where it's about think about the monolithic application as an authentication application, where people register, people log in, people log out, and people have a profile. Okay, but you can actually split those things inside the monolithic application into microservices. So one is about registration, one is about profile, the other one is about logging out. Now imagine doing that into functions. So 1 minute.
okay, sure.
Right. So in terms of functions, yeah, that's where functions comes in. You can have a function specifically on register or specifically on logins or something like that. Then you put these functions hosted inside something like Cloudflare or Netlify function, and we'll just execute that function. You don't have to worry about operating systems. You don't have to worry about scaling. You don't have to worry about um, whether people are going to use this function a lot. It'll just execute when it's needed. So you don't have to worry about patches. Don't worry about updates. You don't have to worry about viruses, etc. Because it's all hosted by third-party services like Cloudflare and Netlify. So the only drawback is this one: less system control. It's more complex, required for testing, and yeah, that's it. Only those two. Everything else is the bigger advantage. So you just have to focus on just writing your functions, your program, it can already handle scalability. So if a million people wants to use that function, adding two numbers, it'll just scale up to that. And let's say if a million people don't want to add two numbers anymore, they can just you only have to pay what you use. Oh, there's a problem here. Okay, deviant 10, blah blah blah. Yep. Okay, yeah, forgot. Need to put in like dash y, dash y. I'm sure there's a way where we can have MySQL secure installation def automated default. Yeah. Blah 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 blah. Setting it up. Okay, so this one already has most of it. Um, Actually, it's too much to do. Anyway, let's just focus on this one. So save that. Run that again. So right now the data. Oh, it is up. Okay, so destroy, force, and vagrant up because it didn't exactly install MariaDB, etc. So we'll just have to destroy it and put it back up again. Forcing shutdown, destroying, and then doing the whole thing. So yeah, this is where it tends to be eating up most of your time. It's just waiting for everything to just finish executing. I mean it's easy, it's simple, it's done. Especially where other users have already gone through this whole hassle of installing and setting up boxes. But you know, if you just want your own and you don't want to rely on other users that may tend to not be up to date, you can control more through Vagrant. Yep, up to date, setting up the name. Oh right, we didn't put in a name. I guess if we want to, we could do that. db.vm.name equals database or MariaDB. Yeah. So then next time we could just refer to that database name. And then if you want, you can let's say you have this whole Vagrant file already set up. You can put it up to GitHub, share it with everyone, tell everyone to say, hey, you want the same setup as my own, but you want to use your own files. Here's my Vagrant file. You know, go nuts, go crazy, go configure, change the things. If you got like 64 GB of RAM, you can configure that, put inside your own version of Vagrant file. Yeah, that's it.
See?
Have you? Okay, so you've already installed your Vagrant, right?
Yeah.
Have you set up one virtual box yet?
Yep.
Huh?
Visual Box.
Virtual box.
Yeah.
Did you set up a VM yet?
Yeah.
Okay. What VM are you doing the same thing as me or?
I just follow you in this your
Okay. Cool. Cool.
yeah. the
Okay, so probably post edits of this video where I'm recording, I'll um, I'll just cut out the parts where it's quiet and there's nothing to say, nothing useful, and then I'll upload it to YouTube. Yeah, so it's finally installing because yeah, I forgot to put the dash Y, and now it's installing it. So this is also running on your network. So if your internet isn't very slow, it will it's going to take very long to install that. Which ISP are you using?
PHP version 5.
No, I mean, are
Ah,
you DST, Progressive,
this
Imagine?
Imagine. Sorry,
Uh,
Imagine.
Ba't ka hindi?
Okay lah.
Yung 50 Mbps ka, 20 Mbps.
Lupa ko.
Hmm. Hmm. Kalau ku buat ni adalah DigitalOcean Droplet atau AWS, laju ni install.
Oh,
Klik, sekali siya mata, habis siap sudah. Ani bata.
okay. Ani, kau di Brunei lah.
Huh?
Di Brunei. Sana.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
This is taking forever. Okay.
So basically, aku ada server. I mean, satu workstation eh. And then I want to install this Vagrant in my server.
Okay. So for Vagrant, this is only meant for local development, only for your local host, not for production use.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So
See.
for production, I thought you have to go through the hard way lah. Either it depends on where your production server is. AWS, DigitalOcean, Linode, or if you're using the on-premise kind of thing, bali server, bali blade-nya, install lagi OS-nya dalam sana. All that you have to do manually lah. You cannot use Vagrant in production. The point about Vagrant is to do everything quickly, set up everything quickly on your local machine. So for example, this line config.vm.define blah blah blah, this database thing, and if I did do the VM for the web, you don't need every other developer rewriting the same config. Just share this Vagrant file. So sekiranya there's a team of 5 or a team of 10 developers, you, me, and 8 others. Instead of everyone having their own Vagrant file, we just share one Vagrant file. So we don't have to think, apa lagi can di-set up can di-set up web, can di-set up DB,
I
can
see,
di-set
I
up.
see.
So just share this Vagrant file with everyone in the team, and then just set up the VM, git clone the project, share the folder to the Vagrant file, and then that's it.
Okay. Nice,
Yep.
nice.
So this is that's the point of Vagrant file. It's to to help developers um, develop faster without worrying about server setup. Can they set up username lah, can set up password lah, can set up firewall lah, can set up network kah, forwarding lah, macam-macam lah. Padahal all of that can be configured inside of inside one single Vagrant file.
Okay.
Uh, So yeah, so that there. So MariaDB is already installed. Now if I do Vagrant, if I do Vagrant SSH, it's going to complain. It should complain, unless because it only has database. I didn't do web yet.
Mm. So basically this Vagrant ini can remotely lah, maksudku if I want to do at a school, so kan aku punya server di rumah, so I want to remotely from the school, so it can kah?
Depends if your school can allow port 22 or port something. Yeah, so you're just gonna make sure that it doesn't get blocked by the firewall at the school.
Because the school have imagine.
Oh, you can try.
Yeah, imagine.
You can try. But yeah, just be wary about network traffic lah. Whoever is controlling the network di sana, they might see, oh, there's a lot of traffic, there's a lot of SSH traffic coming from your machine or something.
Okay, I see.
That's let me do that. The web.vm.name equals app. Okay. Save and Vagrant up web. So I just did Vagrant SSH and it does detect that the DB is the only one, so it just defaults to that one. But once I have Vagrant web VM, what is this? Please fix shouldn't exist. Why? Okay, if that's what you want, we can get rid of it. Yep, so Debian 10, and because there's nothing to set up, I'll just assume it's just a blank Debian 10. Okay, so after the web VM is up, we'll just do one last thing, which is the synced folders, and then after that, the rest is up to you. Okay, and that will be like the end of this whole Vagrant workshop. Where is it? Yeah. So here it is. Let's take a look at that. Share, Vagrant share. No, that's not it. Sync folders. Sync folders, basic usage. Very simple. Config.vm. Blah blah blah. Okay, so web. What was that? VM. VM.synced folder equals. Oh no, there's no equals. Okay, so it's just a matter of making another folder. Let's call this source. Okay, and then actually let's rename that app. Okay, and then here we'll do app. That's for the folder, and then where in the inside the box we can say opt. Okay, so my company usually places all the application files inside OPT. So we'll just say there op app. Okay. All right. So yeah, already done. And if we take a look at the VirtualBox, we have database and we have web. Okay. So if I do Vagrant SSH as it is, it should complain. Yeah, see? So this command requires a specific VM to target in a multi-VM environment. So I have multiple VMs in here, so I have to do Vagrant SSH web. So while the thing was running, I added this sync folder. That doesn't mean that it's already there. I have to restart the VM. But just to show you that it's definitely not there, okay, this app folder, ls op app, see, doesn't exist. The only thing
Yeah.
inside the opt is just that.
Sticker, yeah.
There's no app folder yet. So I have to do vagrant destroy, just do f vagrant up. Why do I keep doing stories? Destroy. So vagrant destroy dash f and vagrant up, that would restart. Yeah. What's that? Please fix VM. Okay. I think it doesn't like this name in it. Okay, so I guess this is it. Okay, this is all it can do. VM and then provision something. Okay, so let's do that. We're going to destroy dash f and we're going to up, so it will just boot. Oh, let's just destroy dash f web and only the web. We don't want to destroy the database. Database is fine. There's nothing in it. It's fine. We can just leave it there, or destroy the database. It's also fine. For shutting down VM and getting rid of all the files and drives. So database is still running. So the only thing that you're restarting is just the web server, the app server. So I guess what you could do is for your web, for your PHP project, you could do web.vm.provision shell path app setup.sh or whatever shell script it is to install the PHP, the Apache, and all that other stuff. Maybe Composer. I don't know if you're using Composer. And then after that, inside this, and then you also specify the synced folder of where that is, and then you can have it synced. Whatever files that you put inside your local machine, it will also be synced over to the virtual machine. And that's where I'm about to show you is creating this synchronization of whatever files you put inside this app folder will also show up in the virtual machines app server. Waiting, setting up, waiting. And you might notice that for SSH it's using Vagrant and then it's using a private key for the auth. So there is no password. So if anyone tries to get into your server, they won't know. So unless you specifically say Vagrant SSH dash share, they'll probably give you some sort of credentials or something. All right, so that's done. Okay, I can see it's already loaded. Now I just need to Vagrant SSH in just to take a look. See, right now it's mounting the share folders app inside, and it's referencing the app folder inside my project folder. So I'm at D side tutorial app, and it's referencing to the opt app. So if I do Vagrant SSH web, okay, right now there's nothing inside my app folder, but just to show you that the app folder exists also inside the VM, I should be able to do Vagrant SSH web. Yep. Then ls op app. Well, there is nothing in there. So if I say it's empty, and in here the app there's nothing in there. But if I do this, hello.text, and I'll just say hello world. You know, your usual hello world. Then if I save this, okay. Now if I do ls again, there it is.
Oh, okay, see.
ls up, hello. Even the content is also there. Hello world. Yeah, well, cat better, I guess. Yeah, hello world. And if I make another change in here, let's say this is an updated text file. Okay, I already saved it. Automatically sync. So whatever changes you make inside your localhost machine, it will automatically be synced to the virtual machine. And then yeah,
Oh,
then you can start playing around with it. I guess it depends on your projects. For example, in Django Python project or Django project, any changes I make, it doesn't always reflect. I have to rerun the Django application just so it can take into effect. So I don't have to do copying and pasting, pushing the file over from the local machine to the guest machine. I can just upload it there. Yeah. So you were talking about the putting into what the that you want to access your files from your. Are you using a school computer or your own computer?
my own computer.
Okay. At school, right?
Yeah.
So
I
how?
mean, the server at the home, and then I want to remoting from the school. So yeah, if I have to update it my file from school, so yeah, aku mau yang from school tuh update ke arah home Pak. Gitu. Around my home.
Are you talking about something like well if you're trying to share files, is it your work files?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can't really advise much. I thought you were talking about something like development, that you're trying to just develop on your server, on your application, from your school and from your home. So I thought you might be using. I thought that's what you're doing. I was going to suggest using Git. So you can continue developing your app, but then every time when you leave your house, you have to git push, then go to school, then git pull. So go to school, git pull, do your work,
Oh.
make your changes into your code. You git push inside the Git server again into the Git like GitHub or something. Then you go back home, you git pull. Paham kah?
Okay.
Yeah. Again, I guess it's everyone's way of developing or making their work easier. May I ask, what kind of files are you trying to push from school to your home server?
PHP
PHP files?
file. Yes, PHP file.
PHP files. Do you need a server for that? Do you need a Vagrant server for that? Why not? I don't know if this will work, but oh, okay. Okay. I think. Okay. This is getting a little bit off topic. Okay. I guess we'll end the workshop here, and then we'll talk about this in the off recording. 1 minute. Okay. Thanks for attending this little workshop. That's the end of this video. Thanks for watching.